So first, I just want to say that, again, remember your model, more or less, or models, they're identical to a profit loss statement. Profit loss statement. Which in turn is equal to things that make you money, aka income, minus things that cost you money, even though they could hypothetically make you money in the long run, but they don't provide you any kind of liquidity in the moment, right? Expense, income minus expenses. Now, the examples we did, we saw normally one type of income. There's normally one thing, whether it was a variable or an equation or whatever the case may be. And then expenses, that's more common to see multiple types of it, right? So what we want to talk about is just mention very quickly that, and you can see it right here, it's my first paragraph, that the incomes, you can have multiple incomes, right? Multiple forms of income are possible. And you can see that I've listed there, they can be exponential, they can be variable. I'm going to add another one right now. They can be constant as well because they can appear in and out depending on the situation. In fact, I'm going to change the first question as well so that it says receive a grant every and nations of $1,000. Sorry, I'm mumbling to myself. And then for the third month, what does model look like now? Okay, and then very quickly I said they could be exponential. The easiest way, of course, for this is that it could be something that is, wow, that was a weird noise. Exponential, it could be something simple, such as x squared, x to the third. Something more uncommon is something similar to the compound equation. So it could be a number raised to a variable, something like that. So that growth is a lot higher as well. And then a variable can be just some variable. Whether it's y, z, whatever the case may be. And a constant, which I changed to our first example that we're going to do, that can be something where it's just a number, right? You get paid, you know, say a number amount, some monetary amount, 10,000 or a million, right? And I wanted to focus on that because the expenses you're already used to. But now we're going to do example one right now, okay? So this is example one for the day. It's the only example I have typed out right now. But we can do, I can think or I can answer questions that we'll discuss about it. So you can see it there. And for those that are coming in, welcome and good morning. I know I can't see you right now because I'm not flipping back and forth between Zoom. I just wanted to let you know that right before class, under the announcements section in Blackboard, there's an active link that is a shared Google Doc. And from here on forward, as I mentioned on Tuesday's lecture, to save a lot of time from typing things out and having you just sit there and recopying or whatever the case may be, the bulk of the questions and the topics that we'll talk about are already typed out. So you can reference there, and then for your personal notebook, you can either rewrite it or print it out if you happen to be around a printer some way somehow. I don't have a printer. And then print it out and then cut and paste or tape or paper clip to your notebook, right? Sorry, I was taking a sip of tea. And then we can save time and you can just go from it. Of course, I'll write some details down here and I'll write out the entire mathematical portion, but I'm not going to type out all the questions. Okay. So I foresee a lot of people going, where did this number come from? And then of course I'm going to say, or ask, are you looking at the problem at the same time? So something to keep in mind there. Okay, so example one, you can see the 4 bullets first. These are going to contribute to your model, right? So I'm going to say the first bullet here, and this aligns with what I was talking about in terms of variable, right? I just tell you, hey, you have some kind of variable income that's coming in and it's positive, right? We're going to assume that's a positive, that you're not in the red, as they say in business, that you're not at a loss, right? But I want to give you, well, yeah, I want to give you, but I want you to also give me a little bit more information, right? You can't just give me an X like that, right? That's, I know what you mean, but it's not good enough. It's insufficient, right? You got to give me a little bit more. So instead of just an X, give me something like this. Let X be our income such that X is greater than 0. See, so we're obviously going to use this in the model, but the rest of this part right here, right? This makes it very clear what we're going to be doing with that said X, right? I mean, like I said, you all, I as well, we know what we're talking about. Let's be a little bit more concise and clear though, so that if anyone were to read this, there'd be no question about what the heck's going on, okay? The second bullet that I just added right now, because we were talking about constants and I just remembered it right now, that's good because then you can remember that sometimes you just get a number, right? I know that some of you, wait, was it this class? I don't remember if it was this class per se, but I know some people work. Actually, you know what? I think it was this class. I think it was Natalie, actually. She's doing work study, if I recall correctly, or at least she has a job on campus, right? Sometimes, depending on who is granting money, for example, for any kind of job campus related, sometimes it's like a regular paycheck, right? You get paid every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's similar to that of a university where they get paid twice a month or sometimes once a month, like my old community college. However, if you're working under a professor that was given a grant, for example, sometimes the stipend just comes either in a lump sum, sometimes it's distributed in a different fashion or an uneven fashion, right? It will be even in the sense that it will be equal, but it won't be as constant or consistent, or there will be other varieties of that. In this example, I said, hey, for the second bullet, let's use a color I don't use often. So second bullet here, right? Obviously it's, what did I say, $1,000. But what you want to notice or pay attention is that it's a flat $1,000, but it's every other month, right? Actually, I should probably write every other month in denominations of $1,000, starting with the first month. Yeah, there we go. Okay, every other month. Every other month. Okay. Then here, now we're talking about expenses. Hopefully people have noticed that, right? Let's go green. I'm now introducing a variable expense as well. It says that your total payout to your employees each month is 1/10 of your income. So the third bullet now in this case, what's our income? Right, our income is this X, and then now this $1,000. But you can't rely on this $1,000 because why? It's being distributed every other month, right? Sometimes I'll be a lot clearer and I will say, hey, well, what's the total payout employees? And then I would say excluding the stipend or the grant in this case. I should write that into 1/10 of your income, excluding any grant money. Therefore, when you're paying out, you don't want to have it where it's so volatile where the income isn't consistent with that 1,000 coming in every other month. You want to just keep it something more steady. Well, what's more steady? It's that X right there. This one's a lot easier because I gave you not only a number, which is in this case 1/10, So 1/10 of what? 1/10 of x. Or you could have written it x over 10. Okay. Now, if I didn't give you a fraction here, you would simply give me another variable, right? Remember, it has to be something different than x. It could be a y, it could be a z, it could be an a, b, c, d, e, f, g, whatever the case may be. As long as it's not x again, because we've already established that x is used here, right? In the first bullet. But the second one right here, I'm sorry, this third one right here, I gave you a fraction, so it's okay. Last but not least is an annuity, but then you can see that I pulled a little bit from that of our second exam as well as your last homework before the second exam, right? You got a lease and it's $200,000, but you're only borrowing 70% of it, right? So lease, again, it's a present value annuity, and you're solving for R. But you're not using, and by the way, that formula is right here, just in case people need it. Again, these formulas are not to be memorized, but if you remember them, it'll make your life a lot easier. And remember, you're not using the 200,000 here. You need only 70% of it, right? So you got to remember to multiply by 0.7 here. And that's going to be our number. So I didn't do this calculation in advance, so we're going to find this out together. 140,000. Okay, and then what happens is that now you just plug in like normal. I don't have enough space there. I'm going to move this over here. So now your recurring payment will equal this 140,000 because we're borrowing a lot less than expected. Okay, remember here I gave you all the details in that sheet if you're pulling it up, right? So it's 0.0416, 1 minus, 1 plus 0.0416. Okay, since you know it's a lease, it's still safe to assume that the compound period is 12. That's not going to change. So don't worry about that, especially for this class. And then we sit for 25 years. I think that's 300, yeah. Negative 300, okay? And let's get this answer as well. So let me box this really quick. That's going to be used for our model. And this answer will be, well, something, whatever this is, times 0.0416, 12, divide by 1 minus 1 plus 0.0416, 12 is to the negative 300. Okay, I got, and this is after rounding properly, 751, 3957, so that's 40. Anybody else get that?
I got that.
Let me see who's here. Okay, Natalie, I saw. Okay, cool. Did anybody get that number?
Yeah, I got that.
All right, cool. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, I got it too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Natalie. All right, so as long as people are not having issues getting that, that's good. This is a good time to also ask if, hey, how does my calculator work? How do I do this again? All that fun stuff. Let me just record people that are here today right now. Anna, Lynn, Cambria, and Karen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, good. So putting together, and I know I stressed this, and I know all of you heard this already from Tuesday, but remember, all these 4 squares or orange squares right now, these are going to contribute to your model, and this is what your model is going to look like. In terms of symbolically. So why can't I spell this? Symbolic. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you're looking at, what is this? X, this time plus 1,000. So watch out there. We normally subtract off a whole bunch of expenses, but this time around we have something that can actually contribute as well. This is minus 1/10 of the X, right? And then minus 750 here. But I'm gonna write it with this right there. So see, this is, I mean, I know there's numbers here with the 1,000 and the 1/10, but this is using all the variables or the representations, okay? For most of you, like I said, you'll probably do it with the numbers. So numeric will look like actually the same thing in this case, just plug in the 751 this time, minus 1/10 X minus 751.40. Okay, so here are your 2 models. And then what happens is that, I'll just write or again here. Oh no, no trapezoid. Okay, there we go. Or this one. So as you can see, you can combine those x's together, right? But I would not do that just yet, because if you look ahead in the questions, right, then you have a couple of details that you have to worry about. So now that this is done, now you can answer questions, right? Now answer questions. Off base model. So these 2, whether you choose one or the other, but most likely use the bottom, you would use it as your base as you move or transition from month to month. And again, let's use a different color here. This super light blue. No, yeah, I'll do the super. Remember, these 2, of course, you can combine. May combine, but don't do it until you read the questions. Questions, because you don't know what you'll unhinge, if you will, when you do it yourself, okay? Or prematurely, that is. All right, so we can read the questions right now, and it says, what is the outcome of the first month if your income was $10,000, right? So again, this is a calculating based question, and it's a matter of plugging in where, I gotta use a different color too. Let's see, I'd use black, blue, green, I guess I'll use this light blue again. They're telling you that X is, in this case, $10,000. So that implies you just plug in an X wherever you see one. So there's an X right there. Then blue plus 1,000. Then minus 1/10 of what? This 1,000 again, right? Same X right there. And then you subtract off this 751.40. Now, this is a time where if you wanted to, you could have combined it. You could have combined, sorry, I said combined it. You could have combined these 2 right here. However, what would have been the fraction here? If you have one whole here, X, right? 1/1, or more specifically, 10/10, because remember when you add or subtract fractions, you have to have the common denominator. So if you had this, right, and you did combine it, what fraction would be left here? Right? You could do this where you go 10,000 and then multiply by a tenth of 10,000 and then subtract it. It would have been a good, happy day. But you could have saved yourself some work if you realize, someone hear me, what's the fraction that's supposed to be in front here? If you were to combine these x's, the x and the 1/10 x. Come on, someone knows. Right? What is 10 over 10 minus 1/10? Did someone type the answer? No. What's the answer?
9/10.
Okay, yeah, 9/10. Leaving me hanging here. You must be watching something else aside from me. Okay, yes, it would be 9/10. So watch out for that because there are going to be homework problems where I will say, hey, you take a percentage or some fraction amount of the income, and then you may not show it on your model, but when it comes to calculating, it would be super helpful if you can simplify it, okay? In this case though, however, it's just a really simple question because the numbers, excuse me, are relatively easy. Okay, so let me calculate this out for you, unless you have the answer already, which is fine. Minus 1/10, which is 0.1 times 10,000 minus 751.40. So I got $9,248.60. By the way, I will fix it for the final, however, a positive outcome. There are people that got answers like this on the second exam and they left out that zero. Why do you do that? Nobody does that in the real life when they give you change, right? Say you go to, Pret across the street from campus, right? And you buy whatever, and then they go, okay, thank you very much for coming in. Your total will be $12.1 or $12.1. No one says that, right? This is money you're talking about. So I saw answers where people got it and they got the right answer. And of course I gave them full credit, but because I foolishly thought that people would put the zero there. No, they didn't put the zero there. I found that super absurd. If you got the answer 9248.6, but you're talking about money, why would you not put the zero? So now I know to change Blackboard or adjust it such that if they see this portion of the number, I'll still mark it correct, but put the stupid zero, okay? It's no one says you owe $12.1, right? $12.10. $12.10. This case, $9,248.60. Right? Not 9,248.6. Okay, that's if it was some other metric, but this case, dollars. Use a zero, right? You want to use a zero. Okay, for the second month right here, or second question, it says, suppose for the second month, payroll needed to be decreased and it totaled to now 1/16 of your income. What is the model now? So here the question 2. So this is why you didn't want to, from the base model right here, what I wrote in light blue, you may want to combine, but do not until you read all the questions. And this is exactly why, because now I'm having you manipulate the model, right? So this is a manipulation here. So you can see that what's going to follow through. The X comes through, right? So we're looking at the base model right here, where I drew, I'm not gonna draw a black star. Let me use a different color. Pink star here, right? So we're looking at that base model, and then we're gonna carry over what makes sense. So we still have some kind of income. We no longer have that $1,000 stipend because that's going to be every other month. So that's gone, right? So you ignore that. Okay. This now becomes not 1/10, but 1/16 of your income. that is described in this problem. So 1/16 now. So see, that's why you don't want to mess with that. And then of course, this is a lease, so it's recurring. So it is this. Now I mentioned it before on Tuesday, but now since we're looking at this, especially the 6 of you that are here, it will resonate more. This part where we got on the last answer, which I'm gonna, yeah, I'll do it in this gray. See, this positive outcome, right? Do not carry it over here, right? Do not carry over. Do not carry over because it will just confuse things more, right? So it's as if this was for the month of May that's coming up, you have it there. This question number 2, it's going to be for the month of, wait, what's after May? June, right? So obviously 9,000, you're in the black or you've made money and you're not ignoring that. But for calculation purposes and to make your life easier for this class, right, you want to not carry it over because I'll see it right there. And then if I ask you for some hypothetical annual report, you can add all the numbers together in Excel or something like that. But I'm not going to ask that. So there's that. Okay. So then what you're looking for now is that it's going to look something like this. So the model, actually, you know what, let me write this out. Second month's model, second month's model is going to be just this X. Now 1/16, and then now that minus 751.40. Dollar sign doesn't have to be there. It can or cannot be. Just depends on your mood. Okay, let me fix that 6 so it looks cleaner. Okay, so 1/16 right there. As for the third question now, I asked you, hey, what does the model look like now? And again, I haven't explicitly stated anything that has changed again. So you assume the same model. So your base was where that pink star was, but now you moved, you got a calculation for the question. For the second question right now, you have this as your new base. Now you move forward from that second month, right? If we ever regress back to something, so say, for example, I say, oh, you know what? You made money again. You have now paid out your employees for the next month. You predict that you can afford to pay them the same amount as you did for the first month, change it back to 110. I will state that, right? But unless something is stated otherwise, you move from month to month, right? It's a progression. So this third month's model now, everything stays the same, except now you have to remember that what? That this $1,000 stipend comes back. And that's where it's important because if I decide to throw in an every other constant that is happening in a model, people will normally forget that. And this is the same right here. All right. So we can see that progression, right? There's the first base model that you created. You got some kind of calculating question. And then second month's model, third month's model.